Hi, my name is Juliana. Thank you for tuning in to the Tomosi Business Training Series. Our commitment is to equip you with weekly training sessions geared at growing and improving your business. Now, for the past few weeks, we have been covering enterprise competitiveness, and we have been covering the third key driver, which was volume, structure, and nature of demand. However, due to the ongoing global crisis that has seen prices of items such as soap and fuel increase gradually, we have put a pause to that and decided to start on driver number 4, which is level of financial investments in a farm. And we start off with the types of problems for price increase. Enjoy.
So good morning. Today we are crossing over to number 4, the level of financial investments in a farm as one of the drivers of competitiveness. Remember, we began with productivity levels and efficiencies. We went to skills and qualifications of the business. We went to volume, structure, and demand. Now we are at number 4 of the 7 levels of competitiveness. I was on Baba television last week on invitation by a colleague of mine, and the moderator, a young man called Aloysius Matovu, he asked me pointedly to explain why there's rapid price increases in some of the essential commodities, especially soap, in Uganda. I needed some longer television time to explain, so I simply gave the viewers some snippets. But when I went home after midnight on reflection, I thought, you know what? I should use our weekly podcast to explain this matter of price increases further because it affects all of us. And this session really ties in very well with this 4th aspect of competitiveness of farms in an economy. So let me repeat for those who are joining us for the first time. For context, we have so far covered 3 levels of competitiveness out of the 7 that we plan to eventually handle. So far we have talked about productivity levels and efficiencies in a farm. We've spoken about skills and qualifications that create the necessary competencies of the team at work and the combined capabilities of the farms or the company's employees. We've spoken about volume, structure, and demand of the products the company or the farm sells. And now we are moving to this 4th one, which ties in with commodity increases. It is called a level of financial investments in a company. Now, to make soap, you require animal fat, or you have to substitute it with vegetable fats that we call tallow. And you mix this with some alkali. That alkali, we call it sodium hydroxide by another name. These are the key elements. So animal fat and sodium hydroxide. Vegetable oils, which include palm oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, and other oils of that nature constitute raw materials for also other important things in our daily lives. These include medicinal oils, pharmaceuticals, and these are highly traded on the global market. These also constitute some of the essential oils and ingredients for food in our menu. In fact, in developed markets, where food safety standards are higher than ours, they tend to be higher than ours, something called the labor costs. The labor costs. What do labor costs mean? It means that whatever you put inside a box, a packaging box, and you label it as export, it must be what it is, without any form of adulteration or deterioration or reduction in any of the elements that form that product. Or there can't be any limitations on ingredients that you've mentioned on the label, otherwise you take a hit as a business. So in markets with the high cost of labor, soybean is very, very expensive as a label. Why? This is because it is used in almost every type of food, especially in Northern Europe, in meats, in fish, in vegetables, and even in dairy products such as ice creams. The producers of these essential vegetable oils I mentioned, along with the animal fats, mostly they are South Americans. Brazil, for example, is one of the largest producers, and Brazil alone is projected to grow some 200 million metric tons. 200 million metric tons for just one country of Brazil of soybean, 200 million metric tons of soybean oil by 2030. The other countries, Paraguay, Argentina, all of them in South America. North America, Canada, and the US, and some parts of Eastern Europe, mainly Russia and Ukraine, which are now at war with each other, they are also major producers. In fact, according to MSN News this week, I was reading online, MSN News, Russia and Ukraine alone, those two countries at war, they account for nearly 30% of the world's wheat exports. They also account for 17% of all corn exports worldwide. They account for 32% of barley. You know, barley is a crucial ingredient in beer production and in animal feeds production. They also account for a huge 75% of all the sunflower oil exports. Sunflower is a major ingredient in cooking oil in many parts of the world. Now, our country, Uganda, imports approximately 800,000 metric tons of palm oil. 800,000 metric tons of palm oil from the key producing countries of Indonesia and Malaysia. These are the highest producers of palm oil in the world. These countries were hit hard by frequent COVID lockdowns, which occasioned labor movement restrictions. Now, I need to tell you that palm oil farms in the Far East tend to get their labor, a majority of their labor, from India in the neighborhood. And so, because of those lockdowns, the harvests were low compared to past years. Yes, Uganda grows palm oil in Kalangara, but this production is extremely low. It is probably less than 50,000 metric tons annually, and therefore it is unable to satisfy the rising demand in the country. Remember, Uganda is growing very fast in its population, in its consumption habits, and the capacity of its basket of goods and services across the board, when you add the trading partners we supply with fast-moving consumer goods, some of whose ingredients are these oils, then you begin partly to see the pressure that we have on essential vegetable oils and some of the ingredients that make soap and why soap is going up. I need to also tell you that because of the bad weather in South America, some of you might know that we have had coffee gains in the last 2.5 years. Coffee, last year, we sold $627 million worth of it in earnings, but this is partly to do with the frost in Brazil. Brazil is one of the largest producers along with Vietnam. They have had poor harvests, including poor harvests in North America on account of bad weather too. And if you add the high cost of shipping associated with post-COVID-19 lockdowns, when you add these things, Uganda and Africa, you begin to notice that we are feeling a pinch in raw materials for soap and other essential oils. Let me tell you something, my assumption. I've been kind of quietly concerned in my heart. It's a concern, it's not yet a scare. But when I look on the horizon, my assumption is that we are in the early stages of price increases, commodity price increases. We might even be heading into deep inflationary pressures as a country. If you remember, the world trade in merchandise contracted, reduced by 7% in 2020 when we were all locked down. Airports were closed, shipping vessels were grounded, and I mentioned when I was on Baba Show last week that just one example, shipping vessels that would carry pre-corona, pre-COVID-19, 180,000 metric tons of crude oil or coffee or iron ore, these were grounded. These would charge $25,000 a day just for the crew. These were grounded for months. Some of these large ships began, just for maintenance purposes, to look for money as low as $2,000 so that they don't go into bankruptcy. When you add all this, you begin to see the slow but steady increase in the price of commodities in our country, in the cost of vegetable oils and other essential oils in our country. Now, I need to tell you that an economy, and I said this on the show, an economy is like your nervous system. The effect of a neuron is your brain cell, and its electrical signals it sends to the rest of the body takes nanoseconds. In an economy, if we equate this to a neuron, it takes much longer for any intervention or disruption for the effects to begin to bite. This neuron and its electrical signals will surely affect your communication as a human body, your cognitive and regulatory functions, your motor controls, and your memory functions, just like the signals on the market do to an economy if there's disruption. Indeed, the price of edible crude oils has been steadily rising from $600 in 2019 to almost now past $2,000 a ton by March 9th, 2022. The Ugandan audience of this podcast that is watching or listening to me most likely will ask, especially if you're in Kalangara, if the prices are going up worldwide, a ton of palm oil, why are we still selling a ton at $350 or $1.2 million, which is only 11% of the total current global price? Yes, my sisters and brothers, you are selling low because you are selling fresh palm beans from your gardens. The processors have other costs that have to be added on. I want to encourage you, however, as President Museveni of Uganda often tells us many times, to move up the value chain where the margins are better, whether you are in coffee or in tea, milk or palm oil.
We would like to hear from you. Please email us at info@tapmedia.com and visit our website at www.tapmedia.com. You can also visit our offices located at Tomosi Business Park, Luzira, Port Bell Road, or call 0414 220 702. Thank you.